This is Talking Timber with me, Mike Jeffrey.
And me, Keith Fryer.
And just to recap, you can listen to previous Talking Timber episodes on talkingtimber.co.uk, on Spotify and YouTube. Yep.
Yeah, we've got social media. I think so Facebook and
social
all
media
that.
Up. Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, And so today the topic is it's the Women in Timber initiative, which is a new initiative focused on driving up the number of women who enter the timber trade, which traditionally, I mean, is changing.
Definitely changing,
but it's traditionally been a very male-dominated industry. So Women in Timber is aiming to change that, to reach out to encourage more women to enter the trade. And so we've got three members of the Women in Timber committee with us today. We've got Chidi Adili Osim, who is Group Sales Manager at the Timber Trades Journal. We've got Laura Qualters, who's Membership Development Manager at the Timber Development UK Trade Association. And we've got Sian Morton, who's Head of Sales, National Merchants and DIY at the BSW Sawmill Group.
I think that, just as a start, is going to be very interesting to see how this whole podcast goes. But the range of job roles there alone.
Yes, exactly. We've got
fantastic.
media. We've got a trade association,
and has Sian, the hard-bitten salesperson as well.
So welcome, Chidi, Laura, and Sian.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Hi.
Yeah. Thanks for sparing time. It's really, really good of you. Time's tight, though, so we're going to rattle through if we can. And I'd like to start off, Laura, if you wouldn't mind, if I could ask you, could you just try and tell us a bit about how Women in Timber, the initiative, actually came about and who's behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it started as a conversation last year. Me, in my role, I get to go out to lots of events and meet some incredible people across our industry. But whilst it's a lot better, what stands out for me is, where are the women in timber? So it started as a conversation as to, is there an event we can put together to create a platform where ladies across the sector can get together, meet each other, create those connections, support one another, and really have that kind of really welcoming space where we can talk about roles and challenges and hear from inspiring ladies in our sector about their own roles and their own kind of career development. And we created a committee which is made up of myself, Sian, Chidi, Karen Sussex from TD UK, Jessica Vick, buildings, and we start to put some meat on the bones as it is, and put a day together.
That's sort of the initiative and how it came about, and the people behind it. Are you sort of quite well supported by your employers?
Yeah, I think from my perspective. Sorry, Laura. I think from my perspective, as soon as BSW heard I was getting involved, they could not wait to support the event. I think the quote from our marketing director, or our head of marketing, was, "It's an easy yes." So I think, from a BSW perspective, it was really, they were incredibly supportive of me being part of this committee alongside the other ladies.
Sorry, Laura. I can put in just to say that with Laura, just bumping into you at industry events as well, we'd meet up at Softwood Club Christmas dinners, and we talk about women and how we're always catching up in the ladies, and there's always not really a formal space for us women to really kind of network. And I think just meeting other women in the industry, I think it was just wonderful when you came with the idea. I remember last year when you talked to me about it at the Christmas lunch, and I think it compounded because when you invited us committee members, everybody and on the committee have contributed towards promoting women in timber in some sort. With TTJ, we did the Women in Timber article during our 150th anniversary. So I remember Karen Sussex saying that, why don't you get Chidi on board? And obviously with BSW and Jessica Vernon and Jenny Ward as well from TD UK. Everybody from the committee has done so well to kind of champion women in timber, and I think it's just kind of come together organically as well. So it's amazing.
Yeah. So that article was quite informative, wasn't it? I mean, so it highlighted, not just that there are women in timber, but they're also holding some pretty sort of high-powered jobs and roles. But as I said at the beginning, the situation is changing. The industry is becoming more diverse in terms of personnel. But you obviously clearly you still feel that women in timber is needed. I mean, there is need for more momentum in driving diversity and making the industry more attractive to women. I mean, Judy, I wonder if you could address that.
It's very much needed. There is inspiration for it because it is traditionally a male-dominated sector, and a lot of people don't really know that a lot of women are in the industry and more are coming in, and they're holding spaces in senior roles, which is really exciting, and that has actually become more apparent. So we found that the whole concept was very much great for all of us to inspire each other to have that networking opportunity and to really support women in the industry. And everybody has really welcomed it. Like, we've been blown away by the support.
I don't know whether anyone else has got to add on that, but I wanted to ask you, Sean, have there been any sort of obvious barriers or deterrents? I mean, not being silly about it, you can imagine some, but are there any sort of specific barriers or deterrents for women entering the timber sector?
I think for me, particularly, in the past, it's probably been that perception piece. When you leave school, you leave university, that the perception of the timber industry historically has always been that it's very male dominated, and it's not not even just the timber industry, probably the merchant industry in its entirety. And I think it's almost, women wouldn't necessarily see it as a viable career option. Personally, I fell into the industry, as I think many people probably did. But I think more and more what we're seeing and what we saw as an outcome from the Women in Timber event is there are women in all types of roles, whether it's sales, whether it's leadership roles. If I look at my own business, there's people at Till Hill Forestry, there's people, we've got the first female saw doctor in one of the sawmills. So I think in the past, the main barriers have been that actually women haven't been able to see a representation of themselves in the industry. And that has been the main barrier. But all of that's changing. And I think that's really encouraging, is that we're now seeing women in all kinds of roles, at all kinds of levels, doing a job, showing the people coming into the industry that actually it is a viable career option.
Yeah.
And Chidi, I mean,
absolutely.
We spoke in an earlier podcast about your experiences in the industry. I mean, are there still? I mean, I imagine it was the case in the past, but are there still sort of instances where you think, that's the wrong attitude of a male member of the industry towards women, or is that coming through?
Yeah, I think attitudes are changing. I've been to a few. We went to the EATT dinner in Cambridge, and it was just amazing to see how much support that we got from the industry. Everybody, different companies were just coming forward, talking to Laura and myself, and saying how happy they are to see the Women in Timber initiative. And it's a long time coming, and we've had different companies come forward. Howarth Timber, for instance, they have a specific event for women in timber within their company, and they have like 40 ladies from the group, and they have an event for that every year. And James Latham as well, they do something for women in timber. So I'm seeing the attitude change, and it's incredible. It's just so nice, and it's just brilliant for all of us to feel much more comfortable to be in the trade, and to see that our male colleagues are supporting us all the way.
What I would add to that, if that's okay, and I've literally just had this conversation now, is a lot of people have spoke to me about the event itself and want to not know what's been talked about and what's going on, but actually what is the feedback, and how to take that away and improve that support in their own businesses. They've got some really good female senior roles, but there's times the number of men in those roles. So it's, what are the barriers in those businesses, and what can they do to kind of resolve that and help support and guide women through their careers to that development and senior leadership roles. And I think that's really, really good to hear. Really optimistic.
Yeah.
And how do you feel that greater diversity can actually, I mean, obviously it does, but if you could put it into words, how you feel greater diversity can actually help the industry.
I think people, whether if you've got a diverse team, people see things differently, and I think that is, the takeaway that I have within my own business is that actually I come at things from a different perspective. I look at things slightly differently, sorry, and I think that actually helps our business. It helps that day-to-day interaction with customers, because how a male colleague may deal with it is completely different from the way that I would deal with it. And actually having both perspectives on a problem or an issue or something that you're working on actually brings a lot of diversity. It means that we perhaps deal with things differently, and it just brings a different approach, which is not a negative thing.
Yeah, I can second that as well, Shan. Like, I believe with it's just a greater understanding and knowledge. Once a sector is more diverse, then you rich. It becomes more richer. The conversations, the experiences, and knowledge on how to move the different sectors or businesses forward, on how everybody can benefit. I think it's important for diversity, and that is on so many levels. It just makes the sector more stronger and richer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to sort of say that, I mean, from a male perspective, the fact of diversity in every sense, is great, because what it does is it just allows so much more sort of opportunity for fresh ideas, fresh thinking. It sort of takes away the staleness of things. So I believe, Laura, you've had your first Women in Timber forum or conference. Really would be very interested to find out, how did that go, and did you get like a big turnout, or was it a bit less than expected? What was the result?
Well, when we started it was one of those questions I asked myself: does the industry want this, and will anyone want to come? And
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we sort of thought we'd get 100 sort of tickets sold, and that was kind of our aim, and we had 123 sold on the day. 118 ladies on the day from around 50, 60 different businesses, which was just amazing. Such a mix of experience and roles, and time in the industry as well. Didn't get out, feel nervous about going to events, but felt it was a welcoming space that they could come and meet people face to face, and hear about other people's roles and challenges. And it continues to blow me away as well. The feedback, the social media activity after the event was just fantastic, amazing.
Quite a diversity of job roles, hopefully.
Oh, sorry.
It was a whole vast of job roles. Yeah, like we had, the speakers were from everywhere. Like we had Michelle Buckland from Myro Forestry, she's the chief commercial officer. We had Camilla Fish, managing director of SCA, Christella Golby, who's the general manager for TTBS, and Claire Toomey, head of sustainability and ESG lead from Howden's Joinery, and also Rosie Wise, managing director. Yeah. So it was amazing, like different ranges as well.
Yeah, and no shortage of volunteers to speak.
No.
Those kind of offers keep coming as well, which is great. It's obviously struck a chord. I think it's marked a massive milestone in our industry. I think it was well needed, well received, and it's something we want to continue to grow and carry on. Yeah.
Were there any sort of takeouts from the event that you didn't expect? Did anything come as a surprise or a pleasant surprise?
I think from my perspective, from the takeout situation, is that like Laura and I were there early in the morning, and all the tables were laid out, and there's nobody in the room other than the two of us, and we were like, wow, this room's going to be full in like an hour of people. And it was quite humbling, really, to think that that many women were coming to our event. And I think the main takeout for me was actually how much the industry needed it. And after the event, or during the networking sessions, you're talking to everybody there, And there's people there was one lady, and I can't remember her name, but there was one lady that had been in the industry 6 weeks. And then you've got people that have been in the industry for like 40 years. And across that whole breadth, everyone was saying, we've needed this, we've wanted this, it's a really great space for us. And I think one of the other takeouts that following the session is that I know, Laura and some of the speakers have been contacted to say, I'd really like a mentor, a mentor kind of system in place. Is there somebody that we can talk to? We're very early in our career. And I just think from somebody that's been in it 20 years, like that's a wonderful thing to have when you're right at the beginning of your career. I've been lucky and I've had a number of male line managers who have been very supportive, but actually for a female 6 weeks into their career in timber to have somebody to talk to that they can see themselves in, it's massively important.
And Chidi, maybe you could answer this one. Are there any more events planned, any more communications, maybe a website? You maybe already have a website.
We do. We have a Women in Timber website. So it's womenintimber.uk. So we did launch that last month, and it's a brilliant platform because it just shows pretty much everything, how the event went. We have a news page as well, events page, contact page, and I've directed some women to this actual website. So that's kind of our holding space where everything Women in Timber will be. And we have launched, I believe, Laura, 2026 Women in Timber event, which is going to be next year. So we're very excited.
WIT 26 will be on the 1st of October. At the same venue, so Alton Hall. But what we really want to do is keep that momentum going. So we're talking about doing some mini events, and they could be webinars. We want to keep that community support, that kind of spirit going throughout the event. So I think it's really important. We've got some really good feedback on some themes and topics that kind of affect women in their careers, and we're looking at putting kind of really structured sessions on themes that do affect us. So we want to keep that going. We want to grow it. I think it will grow. I think it will be a key date in the calendar for the timber industry.
Excellent. I think that's right, isn't it? If you can now that you've got established, I mean, to turn over the first one is a huge, massive effort, but then you can ride off the back of that with another one. I mean, then things really begin to motor, don't they?
Yeah, we did actually talk about at the TDJ Awards, and it was very much just promoting how amazing the event went, and we want to keep it as a staple in the timber industry for women, so that people can have it in the calendar and make sure it's an event that stays. And like with the news, we've got newsletters coming out. We want to do a podcast, want to do a webinar. There's so many things we can do, and also we want to try and do some events next year, have some pop-up moments where a woman in timber can come and just maybe have a coffee and catch up with another woman in timber. These are the things we're talking about, and how we can just keep that momentum going, the conversation going, and make sure that women in timber know that we're here.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was mentioned earlier about, mentoring being important. Do you see Women in Timber sort of either setting up a mentoring scheme, or do you think it will kind of that will grow it organically out of Women in Timber as an organisation?
I think as we've said, a few of our speakers have already been contacted, which they were about. So there's a definite some role models and some people to provide that guidance. So it's something we're looking at the minute about mentoring and how that might work, just to make sure that support is in place. But I think it's definitely something that was a key takeaway from our event about not everyone has a role model in their own company, or someone that they can talk to about perhaps changing career or path or whatever. So having someone they can reach out to that can help them with that support and guidance, I think is really important.
Yeah. And so how do we attract even more? I mean, obviously we've got the Women in Timber initiative already, it's taken off. But is there a scope for perhaps sort of looking at outreach to schools and colleges? And as we said, with women and now in the industry and within Women in Timber, sort of acting as kind of role models, is that a possibility?
I think getting the message out there is key. I think we need to show how diverse, exciting careers in the timber industry can be. It's it's much more than people envisage. So talking about those roles and those diverse roles, like Sean said, saw doctors and working in forestry, there's so many roles you can have in the timber industry, and it's a great industry to be in. It's part of our sustainable future as well. We're helping with our climate. How exciting is that? So it's about talking about to get that out there. There is a potential to develop a bit of an education sort of outreach program, engages with people sort of early on. So, would like to be able to share experiences and success stories and talk about the different roles that are available, and make that, a viable option for people going into the timber industry.
So
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We should.
Sorry, I interrupted you there. I do apologise. How would you sort of, Sean, maybe sell this industry to women and who are thinking about different career options? Are there any sort of particular sort of key places or things, attractions that might appeal to women?
I mean, I think the first thing I would say is it genuinely is an industry with a heart, isn't it? Let's be honest. There's a lot of lovely people in this industry that are there to help and support, whether that's male, female, and that is certainly one way that I would sell it. But I think it's just about exploring what the opportunities are. There aren't many industries where you can work in, such a diverse range of roles, whether it's, forestry, whether it's in sawmilling, manufacturing, sales. There's such a wide range of roles within the industry that actually there's something there for everybody. There's something that would suit any skill set. And like Laura said, it's a product that's changing, it's a massive, it's changing the climate. We all want to build more sustainably, and actually you can be part of something really exciting, and that is very, that is exciting for everybody.
Yeah. I just thinking about that, you mentioned this sort of the timber family, if you like. It's something I've always felt. You can go to a dinner or a lunch or a meeting of any form within the timber industry, and everyone gets on. As soon as they leave the room, they'll fight each other to death to win an order. But it's very collegiate, isn't it? And I think that probably works quite well for women, doesn't it?
Yeah, massively so. And I think you're right. I'm maybe incredibly lucky, but I've never been at a dinner or a meeting or in a situation where I haven't felt part of the family, the timber family, if you like. I do genuinely believe it is a very welcoming industry. There have been times where I've had to work twice as hard to prove to people that I know what I'm talking about, particularly in a sales role. But actually, generally, the kind of feeling around the industry is one of being welcomed.
Yeah, I can agree with yourself. I'm like Sean. I feel like I was blown away by the heart and the passion and how everybody was just really welcoming when I came into the trade. And I think it's a brilliant industry to be part of. Like, there's so many opportunities and careers, and it's just very dynamic. So I've enjoyed being in the timber trade for the 8 years I've worked in it. I've just found it fascinating. Every day something new. Just to touch on the outreach, just so that I forgot. I did actually have a really good conversation with Jeff Rhodes from the Institute of Carpenters, and he mentioned the program that they're doing to 50 colleges, where they're trying to encourage girls and women in woodworking careers. And that's the things like that we want to highlight and put in Women in Timber, for instance, on our news page or case studies. It's stuff like that we want to really talk about. And it just shows how much different organizations are working to bring more women into the trade. And it's just a great example. But I think it's a great industry.
So perhaps Women in Timber could become a sort of hub, sort of linking all these organisations together, and sort of so their efforts are all sort of pointing in the same direction. Is that a possibility, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Could I just ask one question? It's to do with women in timber, but it's the timber more general question, really. Because when I'm coming to the end of my career, But when I started, timber was a thing that, to be honest, I didn't really tell people I was involved in timber because it had a really, really bad reputation. We were destroying rainforests, chopping down trees, all that sort of stuff. There was nothing about anything else. It was very negative. Do you find when you're trying to promote the industry to young girls, and young women, is that still an issue?
I think it's not yes.
Yeah, my daughter will often say to me, but what do you do? Just talk about wood. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I love it. But I've been told at quite a few events that I've been to where, primary school children saying, oh, you're bad, you cut down trees. So there's a lot of work to be done to get that kind of message out there that says, it's not just about that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's about managing forest responsibly. It's about developing innovative products. We've got so many great technologies. It's, as we said, it's about being in a sustainable world and climate.
The reason I mention it is because and I want to just say this the way it is. I think women can actually put across a message about care, sustainability, and in a way that a lot of men, quite frankly, are rubbish at. So perhaps we could call that a work in progress.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I think for us, TTJ, we did run like a wood and wellness conference back in 2019, I think. And what it was about promoting wood in a positive light, about sustainability and just breathable buildings and passive house and all that. So I think, we can really push that. I do see that positive side for wood and timber. And I think for the future and the way the world is going, it's a sustainable resource. So, more can be done.
Effectively, that message is becoming stronger, isn't it? I mean, the deeper we get into the climate crisis, the more timber has the option and the possibilities of stepping up and saying, but we're part of the solution. We're not part of the problem.
But the fact that Laura, you've got your daughter saying to you, isn't the timber industry a bit of a bad thing? That notion is still out there, and indeed there are issues. Let's not pretend otherwise. But I just think it would be a great way to get that message across. We need more women promoting timber to the outside world.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you're right. We can talk about it in a really a different way and selling the benefits of being in the timber industry and using timber products and selling timber products. So I think there's definitely mileage in putting together something like that we can, maybe we've become a group that goes and talks about women in timber, but about timber itself and working in that industry and what that means and what the products mean for the climate and how that contributes to a sustainable future. And they're all things that I think do appeal to that younger generation as well. I think a lot more younger people are conscious about climate, and I think it would appeal to them that way.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, what I mean,
we better wrap up. I think.
I think that's
I know. Trouble time flies.
Yes, but sort of a parting question. I mean, so what are the future ambitions of women in timber, and are you optimistic that there will be still more women in the sector in coming years? And that question is open to all of you. So if you just give us an idea where you see women in timber going.
I mean, I'd like to. I think our ambition would be to see women in timber as a lasting kind of network and that connects and supports women at every stage of their careers. But some of the things we've spoken about already, they're things that we need to sort of put into place to kind of keep championing that diversity and sort of, not just talking about it, but living it as well. So we need to get more people in the industry. We need to make sure we're talking to people about it and just providing that ongoing support and resources, I guess, around the themes that affect people in their day-to-day positions and kind of be there as a bit of a network to support them.
And I think for me, success.
Oh, sorry. Go, Shan.
I was just going to say, I think success as well, we will have been successful when days like the Women in Timber seminar are just part of the industry. It's not something necessarily abnormal or different to talk about. If that kind of day just becomes part of the calendar, like Laura was saying, and it's not seen as something out of the ordinary because actually there are so many more women being represented in businesses, then I think for me that is a really successful future for what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I believe more events, as in just more visibility, more women to come in, more women to be part of the initiative, more companies to get involved in bringing more women into the trade and championing the women that are currently working in the companies. And so I'm really optimistic about where we can go with this, and just making Women in Timber a staple event for the timber industry, and maybe in future have Women in Timber Awards, who knows? But yeah, there's so much we can do.
Well, look, congratulations to all of you for the work you've done. I mean, from my side, a massive thank you, because diversity, inclusiveness, positivity, everything that tries to sort of make this industry, which has provided my income for myself and my family my entire working life, it's great to see things getting better. You know, it's just wonderful. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah,
and we obviously on Talking Timber, we want to keep up with Women in Timber. So you're welcome back.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
keep
for
sending
having
us things. No.
Yeah,
absolute pleasure.
Keep us informed about what's happening, and we'll talk again.
And sorry that we have to bring it to a close. I think we could have carried on for another hour or two.
We can definitely talk about it for a very long time.
No, it's been great. Thanks for having us. We're really happy to be part of the Talking Timber podcast, and we'd love to keep letting you know what's happening with Women in Timber in future.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Bye now.
Thanks very much.
All right, take care. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Oh, what a really good conversation.
Yeah.
Really interesting. I know what I found. I don't know if you should be surprised or not, but I mean, the momentum that Women in Timber has built up in such a short space of time, with the conference, exceeding the turnout that they'd expected, and I just, in my day-to-day job as a journalist in the timber, I'm hearing more about the Women in Timber initiative from other people, and so the message is definitely getting out there. It's fascinating.
It is, and I think it was Sean who was mentioning about the sort of the timber family, and it's where women can really, I think, way overstep men in terms of the ability to sort of get that whole message out there. And we've got a lot to celebrate in our industry, but the thought that we're going to get more women involved across everything from sort of basic jobs, early career, senior management, chief executive, finance, marketing, production, of everything. I mean, it's, you go to do's now of all sorts of forms, far more women involved, and hopefully this will be the catalyst for further change.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about outreach to schools and colleges, and critically, it's mentoring, which is already kind of, it seems from the conferences, already sort of organically starting to take root. So I think it's a tremendous message, a tremendous organisation. I think
we might have them back, don't you?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Too right. Brilliant.